So just to revive what we discussed the last class, we ended up understanding what is hydroxylation. So basically, we have made two OH group to get added on the double bond. Mainly that is done by these three methods. One is with alkaline and cold KMnO4, which is around 1%, what we call it as Bayer's reagent. And it would undergo syn addition to get this. Same is the case with osmium tetroxide. We'll get a syn addition. With peroxy acids, if you take, first there is an intermediate which is epoxide forming. Later on hydrolysis, we will get an anti-addition to get two OH groups. So this is what we have ended up with. Let us see the mechanisms of all of this one by one, starting with first KMnO4, which is a syn addition reaction. So dihydroxylation by syn hydroxylation. Syn hydroxylation, how it is done, let's see. So the reagent which we are using here is a cold dilute alkaline around 1% KMnO4, known as the Bayer's reagent. Suppose if I take a cis alkene here like this, in the presence of Bayer's reagent, which is a purple color solution, will turn into a mesoform of two OH groups here with methyl and methyl, having a mirror image of it, the same structure, but both of them are identical. So we would get this mesoform, right? So we'll get this as mesoforms. See how the mechanism is driven. So first, the alkene which is present will try to combine with manganate ion, permanganate ion, which is of this structure MnO4 minus. So this pi bond would start trying to attack on this oxygen when this lone pair will start attacking on this carbon. Got it? So a simultaneous attack would happen from both ends this way. Okay. The reason for that is these pi bonds are delocalized here, right? All these pi bonds are delocalized around oxygen. So, and manganese has very high electronegativity because it is at +7 oxidation state. So that makes this pi bond to attack on one of the oxygens. At the same time, the lone pair containing oxygen will attack here. As soon as that attacks, this pi bond will shift on to manganese. Okay, from there, this pi bond will shift on to oxygen, giving rise to an ester form here. And how does that form? See, here we have a methyl group and a hydrogen group. So imagine this hydrogen is going back and methyl is coming out of the plane. So we have methyl. Same way, this hydrogen is going back and methyl is coming out of the plane. Here the connection is with these two oxygens connected with manganese, and which is connected to O minus and a double bond O. Now this attack could happen on the other way around also, which means where methyl is going inside, hydrogen is going outside. So two of them can come here. Okay, where you can see this hydrogen is coming outside, methyl is going inside. And both of them are mirror images of each other. This is called the permanganate ester. Permanganate ester formation. So we would see a permanganate ester formation. And being an aqueous solution here, this is an aqueous solution, right, in basic medium, right? Because this is an alkaline form. So in aqueous solution, OH minus, one of the OH minus will attack so that this bond will break here. So basically, sorry, OH minus will attack here so that this bond will break here. So it will become O minus, got it? So imagine OH minus attacking here, so this bond will break onto oxygen. Okay. Same way, simultaneously 2 times if it happens, what do we get? The product, what we will get here would be carbon connected with OH and OH on the same side. The O minus which is getting is also hydrolyzed because of H2O present. And we would have hydrogen going backwards with methyl coming outside, hydrogen going backwards and methyl coming outside. Plus its mirror image also. So I'm not writing the mirror image, so I guess you understand that. So it would have a mirror image of. Right, since here the mirror image would be identical, we get the mesoforms. But you understand the alternative, that in case if we take cis and if there is an anti-addition, the product you will get is trans. Similarly, if we have trans and it makes an anti-addition, we will get an erythro form. Got it? So cis, if you see here, we made a here we are making the syn addition. So cis plus syn addition is going to give an erythro, and trans plus syn addition is going to give you 3O. So these two are more valid here, where we are making a syn addition. Everybody understood the mechanism here? Make a note. This is the solution itself. The solution is helping this manganese to come out, and this O minus, both of these O minus are fetching this H plus, and they are becoming OH. The manganese which is there, it is becoming Mn with double bond O and O minus present, and two OH groups coming on it, right? This way. Clear, beta? So one OH minus one time, the other OH minus the other time. Okay. So this 2 OH minus can also be, written as H2 Mn 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 this way, minus, right? Clear. What point is, when you add on this MnO minus, what would happen? This H2O, one of the H2O molecule will come out of it, and we'll get this as MnO2 OH formation with minus, and this appears to be brown in color. Yes, beta. This is very fast reactions. We can't judge on how exactly the reactions will take place here. Okay. 1 minute. Here there is supposed to be plus charge, so not minus, plus charge. See, this is the way it will get closed here. When the bonds break, first O minus is coming across this, then this O minus will break here, then the next time again OH minus is attacking here, right? So this O minus will also break. Correct. So that's how we'll get this as Mn with one double bond O here and one more double bond O here with one OH group coming on it, clear, with a plus sign on it. Okay. So MnO2 plus. Yeah. So this is that brown color form. These are all something which we can't predict, beta. How many steps we can't predict. Yeah.
Sir, I mean after the third compound, 2 times the H2 and OH minus attacks are only
C. O minus attacks here. Then this O minus will become a double bond. This would come as O minus. One step. Second step, OH minus is attacking on manganese. This O minus will come out. Got it? So both of this, after both of those steps, we'll get this. Ha, beta. See, because we will have this compound also, no? This one as well as this one, right? Both would be there. So racemic mixture is formed. But in this case, it is meso form. So only one product. Okay. So this can be used as a detection for unsaturation also. So that is an important point to note, that decolorization of KMnO4 is used as test for unsaturation. Right. Let us see the next reaction here. Same syn hydroxylation, but this time with the reagent OSO4 plus NHSO3, right, in acidic, with water. So this will give slightly acidic nature. Suppose if at all we take, let's say this time I'm taking a phenyl and methyl, just to keep it slightly different than what we have. So in case if at all I react with OSO4, second I treat that with H2O in the presence of NHSO3, sodium bisulfate. Okay, or you can take Na2SO3 also, sodium sulfate. Either ways it will work. This would give us OH, H, methyl and phenyl. Same erythro formation here, because you are adding syn with syn addition, cis with syn addition, so that will give you erythro form. And since this would also have a mirror image here, so it will form a racemic mixture. So let us see the mechanism here. So this cis form which we took, pH here, will do the same thing here with osmium. It would attack on these double bonds. So this pi attacks on oxygen, and this oxygen's lone pair attacks on carbon. It will form an ester form here. Oxygen with OS. This one, double bond O, double bond O. Now I can highlight that this group is coming out and this group is also coming out. Okay, so we will have here as pH and Me. Correct. What we got as the osmate ester. This is an osmate ester. This osmate ester on hydrolysis in slightly acidic medium, basic medium, NHSO3 slight basic medium here. So that would help it to form OH group will come here, and it is like, imagine this, H2O attacking on osmium 2 times. Got it. So whatever the leftover H, that will come on this oxygen. So we would get a form like this with OH and OH, and methyl is coming out of the plane. Phenyl is coming out of the plane here, but on the same side with its mirror image also. So we will get a racemic mixture plus H2 OS O4. Clear, guys? Instead of OH minus attacking this time, it is the water which will attack on osmium on both the 2 times here. So these 2 bonds will break. That H plus will come here and OH will stick to osmium. So we'll get H2 OS O4. Third one, the way we'll do is anti-hydroxylation. Anti-hydroxylation, this time by using peroxy acids. So it happens in 2 steps, so that's why it is called epoxidation plus hydrolysis. So it is epoxidation and hydrolysis. In case if we have double bond with any peroxy acid, then first we will get an epoxide here, right? So this epoxide is also known as oxirane. If you have 3-membered ring, after the oxirane formation, either you can take acidic hydrolysis or we can take basic hydrolysis. In both the cases, we would get an anti-addition of OH groups. So OH, OH, and this way. This is the product formation. See, the peroxy acids which we can take, or peroxyacetic acid like OOH, or we can take MCPBA, told you the other day what it looks like. We can take O2 in silver and heat also. Okay, so O2 in silver and heat is like this. Okay, think this way, like silver, if you react it with O2, it will form AgOO minus. Okay, so if we put it in aqueous solution, it will become AgOOH. So this is also a peroxy linkage and the reaction will happen. Got it. All of this would give you trans addition. Eventually it will give you a trans addition product. Let's see how the mechanism proceeds here. First step of the mechanism is how the epoxidation happens. Epoxidation steps. So in case if we have a double bond this way, and O and H with oxygen, C double bond O, and any R group here. So this is the peroxy acid form. Now observe this oxygen is always localized. Okay, and oxygen-oxygen bond is very weak. So as soon as the pi comes in contact, so here this bond, the lone pair will start attacking here, and the pi will attack here, so that this bond can break and move on with RCO minus. The reason for that is, carboxylate being a more stable anion here, because it will have an equivalent resonance. Got it? So as soon as that happens, this O minus which it gets, that will extract this proton from here. So we will have double bond O, will have double bond, we have the single bond here with oxygen connection plus RC double bond OOH. Basically this O minus which has formed will extract this H plus and you'll get it as RCOOH. So let me mark the oxygen which we are combining here. So the peroxy oxygen is the one which we are always combining. So in case if it is isotopic, you should understand which oxygen is going with what. This is the first step. So what happened? Oxygen got connected with double bond from the same side. So it is a syn addition. So it is undergoing through a syn addition. Once it is done, now the hydrolysis step. So that was the first step, and you'll see how the hydrolysis happens. So in hydrolysis, we have these two groups here with this oxygen formation. Suppose if it is first going through H3O plus, which I also call it as H2O and H plus. Okay. And let me put it as plus. Yeah. So either this or this form, whatever that is given. So basically there is an available H plus. So the lone pair will attack on it. So we will get an OH form here plus, right? Then H2O will attack as a nucleophile from the backside, because if you remember, we have done this cyclic mechanism earlier also when we did halogenation, where we used to have a halo bridge. Recently we have done in oxidation. Yesterday we also done with the oxymercuration demercuration. So H2O will attack from the backside of it. As it attacks here, this bond will break, and we would get this as OH2 plus, and here we'll get OH. And since it is in acidic medium, H plus is lost, and finally we will get the product OH and OH. So which is an anti-addition. So you can see here it is an anti-addition. So overall, if you see, hydroxylation is actually an anti-addition. But if you were asked only epoxidation, it is syn addition. Clear? Now this is how it works in acidic medium. In basic medium, directly OH minus will connect. Directly OH minus will attack on it. Let me show you that. Suppose if you have C this way with oxygen connection, and if we take it in basic medium, OH minus is the one which will directly attack, O minus will leave. So through SN2 mechanism, so we will have here as OH, O minus is formed here. Then on hydrolysis, this O minus will fetch that H plus and becomes OH. You can see it is an anti-addition in either cases. Now one very important thing is, what if there are different alkyl groups on both the sides? What if there are different alkyl groups? Then how do we need to recognize where will be the attack happening? Correct. So this becomes very prominent in case of acidic medium especially. So let us do that. Before that, just make a note, everyone. Make this as a very important note. If at least one of the carbons of the epoxide, is tertiary, the nucleophile attacks on more substituted carbon. If none of them as in carbon, none of them are tertiary, nucleophile attacks at less sterically hindered carbon. Make a note, everyone. Let me elaborate. So we have carbon here connected to another carbon. Imagine there is only one methyl group, the other one is, hydrogen, and oxygen is connected here. Here both sides we have methyl. So you can figure out that, you can see that we have this at the tertiary position. Since this is a tertiary position, now the minute we add H plus, first this H plus get added here on oxygen, giving a positive charge on it. Then Br minus, for example, H plus, and let me take water only. Yeah. Now water as a nucleophile can attack on this position or this position. Now when it attacks here, water is more preferring, which means it is regio-selecting this particular side more favored rather than this. So this one is more favored as compared to the other side. This attack is more favored. Let me show you what might be happening in the transition state. See, in the transition state, you could think this way, that carbon, when it is having H and methyl, when oxygen has H already and it is a strong pulling group now because it got positive charge on it. So what would happen here? That this carbon oxygen bond is almost broken, reason being this carbon already has two methyl groups on it. So this carbon already has two methyl groups on it. So because of these two methyl groups, this carbon which gets positive charge will be sufficiently stabilized because of this two methyl groups present. It is almost like a tertiary carbocation existing. Okay. And then as the water comes over, it would realize, that means as the nucleophile comes to attack, it would realize that this carbon possesses more positive charge as compared to this carbon. So generally the attack is preferred on this carbon, and that makes it delta positive charge here, delta positive charge here. Clear? And this is the transition state which is exhibited. Okay. But if you do not have two methyl groups, then this bond is not as much broken as much what you have it with two methyl groups. So the percentage amount, now the crowding becomes more important in that case. Because see, here it appears like an SN2 reaction. Of course it is SN2. SN2 what? Where would it favor? It would usually favor for a less hindered position. So we are expecting that, oh, this is less hindered, the water should attack here. But we are seeing this is coming as major product. The reason for this is the positive charge which accumulates on the carbon. Got it? But otherwise, in regular cases, where do you have only one methyl here and one methyl here, or there are two hydrogens here, only one methyl here. In all those cases, crowding is a more effective part. But only in this, when you have two ter-to-butyl, when you have two methyl, and it is able to get almost to a carbocation formation, the nucleophile is attacking on the more substituted place. Hence, the more favored place is, the tertiary place. So therefore, bond will start breaking from this end towards oxygen. So what is the product? We'll have methyl with carbon with OH2 plus and methyl with C and H and OH and Me. Remove that H plus out of it. We'll get the final product as Me, COH, Me, CH, OH and Me. Correct? So this is the major product, which is found approximately around 70 to 80%. So let us see with this example here. If the question comes, how to solve it. Suppose we have oxirane with two methyl groups, and here we have one methyl group. The question is given where it is used in acidic medium, that is HBr. Directly the reaction is given as HBr. Second, it is given as H2O with star and H plus, star as in isotopic, and it is given MEOH and H plus. Then everybody check this question now. So since first, what is in all of the cases being acidic medium, the first step is a protonation step. So first protonation as in O and H with positive charges formed. But this would have a lot of existence as a tertiary carbocation. This way, here H with delta positive and delta positive. Correct? That's why this carbon would have possessed more amount of positive charge, so the nucleophile will attack them. So I think you can expect what is the product here. So we will have two methyl groups here, bromine gets added, and here OH will get added, H and Me, Me and Me here. This is the final product. If water is added, water will attack on this side, H plus will be attacking on here. So the product would be Me, C with OH, star would come here, right? Methyl with C and H, Me and OH. Last case, it is the methanol which is added. So OMe will be present, Me, C, H, OH and Me. on the same lines, in case if the question is given with only one methyl group, the other side there are two hydrogens, and same question is given with HBr and with H2O in H plus and D2O in H plus and MEOH and H plus. So guess what are the products here, everyone? Those who have understood, please keep writing the products. Now this time delta positive is not an important criteria, although delta positive is still slightly more on this carbon as compared to this carbon. But the steric factor is much more dominant in this case because it is going through an SN2 mechanism. So what should be the product here now? So carbon with carbon with OH here, methyl here, hydrogen with carbon, H, H and Br here. So Br will get attached on the less substituted side. And in the second case, if you see carbon, carbon and same thing, OH here, methyl, hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen and OH here. Third case we have methyl, carbon, OD, sorry, no, not OD, OH, H with C, H, OD and H. Fourth case here, Me, C, OH, H with C, H, H and OM. What happens if you take under strong nucleophilic addition? Strong nucleophilic addition, which means in case if the nucleophile is strong, like if at all I take basic medium, then we'll say it will be typical SN2 case only. It will be typical SN2 case only. So for instance, if at all I take this oxirane and treat with NaCN. NaCN is a strong nucleophile. Strong nucleophiles will always try to attack on the less substituted carbon. Hence, if you see the product, we'll have Cn here, O minus and Na plus, which on hydrolysis will give us cyanide here and OH here. This is the final product form. Even if you have more substituted this way, here, if we take OH minus for instance, and if you're treating that with OH minus will still attack here only at the less substituted. O minus will change here. So what do we get? Right, we will get this as OH methyl, methyl with C, methyl, H and OH. So this is the OH which is attacking and this is where it is forming. Got it? So in basic medium, it is a typical, SN2 mechanism only, irrespective of how substituted it is. So we have O here in this reaction with Na plus and SH minus. SH minus is a very good nucleophile and it would attack on the less substituted carbon here. So on attacking there, we would get the product as SH, O minus, Na plus. And further hydrolysis, you know what will happen. So I suppose all of you understood how the reaction takes place. Lastly, we discussed about how the epoxidation can take place in case of silver and O2, correct? Now, when you take this Ag and O2 and heat, normally we'll get Ag2O. Ag2O is formed. You can always imagine Ag2O as, 2 Ag plus O2 minus. You can always think it this way. Or you can think like this, Ag is attaching with oxygen here, correct? And peroxides are unstable. So again, Ag, another, if you take 2 moles of it, half mole of it, this is what it happens, right? So think the same way here also, that silver is getting attached with oxygen here, so which is unstable. So 2 moles of it again give Ag2O plus O2 minus. Okay, so 2 moles of that. Correct. So 2 or how many moles? 3 moles of it. 1, 2. Yeah. Clear? So you can imagine this on heating, we can get Ag2O and O2 minus present. So basically, In case if we react a double bond, like let's say CH2 double bond CH2 in the presence of Ag2O and heat. So this O2 minus will get bounded with this carbon. So CH2, oxygen will come as an oxygen and silver will get reduced. So you can see alkene got oxidized, silver got reduced. Now once you get oxygen, you know what to do. With oxygen, if you do hydrolysis, acidic or basic hydrolysis, we will get alcohols, CH2OH, CH2OH. Vicinal alcohols, right, are usually called glycols. So you can get glycols. Now see how the oxidation reaction happens. First oxidation reaction we'll see with strong oxidizing agent. Strong oxidizing agents. If you take hot alkaline KMnO4, hot alkaline KMnO4, or acidic KMnO4, or K2Cr2O7 in acidic medium, okay, or hot and concentrated HNO3. These are very, very strong oxidizing agents. They will break double bond very easily and further reaction will take place. Mechanisms not so important in these cases because they usually happen at a very high temperature. So it is very difficult to predict and they are very fast reactions. So we can't predict exactly what might be happening to the mechanism. But typically, how do we understand that and how to do the problem solving? That is what we'll see. Suppose I'll give you a few cases here. Majority of the time we'll be using hot alkaline KMnO4 H plus, KMnO4 or K2Cr2 H plus. In all of these cases, typically there is one style of reaction that will take place. So first, let us learn how the reaction happens. See, first, if you take CH2 double bond CH2, okay, what you should typically do, just break this double bond. Got it? So break the double bond and make sure you attach one oxygen to this carbon and one oxygen to this carbon like this. CH2 double bond O plus O double bond CH2. So it is like you are breaking the double bond and inserting that with two oxygens. Clear? So how does this appear? Like you have, now you have like H, C double bond O and H. Got it? Clear? Same way here also we have O, C double bond H and H. Next, this is in an aldehyde form. As long as aldehyde or keto form, which has at least one hydrogen on the carbonyl compound, on the carbonyl position, as long as there are hydrogens, the oxidation will further happen. So there is no stopping here. Again, oxidation will happen wherever there is hydrogen, carbon hydrogen bond, introduce oxygen into it. So you will have HOC, HOC double bond O. So these two are same. So typically same style of working. So I'll say both of them are getting oxidized to get 2 moles of this. Carbon cannot hold 2 OH groups on it. One single carbon cannot group 2 OH groups on it. It would immediately dehydrate. So if you dehydrate minus H2O, what do we get here? We will get carbon dioxide. C double bond C, C double bond O and C double bond O. Got it? So the final product what we will get is 2 moles of carbon dioxide. Okay. Clear everyone? Just learn the techniques, how you can solve the questions easily. Okay. See the next case. Suppose if you have CH3, CH double bond CH2. Again, I'm doing an oxidation here. What is the first thing we'll do? We'll break the bond. CH3, CH will give typically one double bond O here and one double bond O here with H and H. We just learned, again, we don't have to keep doing again and again. As long as we have hydrogens, they will all get oxidized and finally they will form carbon dioxide. So we learned it will undergo carbon dioxide. Here you see the structure, how it is. CH3, CH double bond O it is. So where there is a hydrogen, insert one oxygen into it. So again, oxidize that, insert one oxygen into it. So we'll get CH3, C double bond O, OH. So what we are getting is an acetic acid. CH3, C double bond O, OH. Once acetic acid is formed, there is no further oxidation. Okay. Clear? Once an acetic acid is formed, there is no further oxidation. Next. See the third case here. Suppose both sides, if there is methyl, CH3, CH, double bond, CH3, sorry, CH, CH3, and oxidation is happening. Break the bond, we'll get CH3, CH, double bond O of 2 moles. Because they are identical, so we'll get 2 moles of it. And both of them, if you further oxidize, there is one hydrogen here. Between carbon and hydrogen, one oxygen get inserted. So we'll get 2 moles of CH3, COOH. So we'll get 2 moles of acetic acid, and that's it. Reaction will stop there. Okay. Next, D case. Suppose, if at all I have one CH3 group on the other side, and this way. Breaking is evident. Carbon-carbon double bond will break. We'll get CH3, C double bond O, CH3 here, plus CH3, C double bond OH. There is one H here, so this will undergo further oxidation to give CH3COOH. But see the keto form here. Keto doesn't have any oxygen, any hydrogen further. So after this, there is no further oxidation happening. So reaction will stop here only. So you will end up with a ketone and this form. Got it, everyone? Okay. But it has to be mentioned to you, suppose if this same keto form is being given at a rigorous condition, right? Like it would be usually mentioned to you like CH3, C double bond O, CH3 in the presence of KMNO4 acidic and strongly heated. You'll be use the word strongly heated or rigorous conditions like this. In rigorous conditions, what actually happens in rigorous conditions, aldehyde will start showing more amount of enol form. So you will have this enol form existing, and enol means double bond. Again, break it. So if you break it here, what do we get? Typically, we will get the product as CH3, COOH plus CO2. One carbon will become CO2 and the other one becomes CH3, COOH. But if it is a normal condition given, you can always stop. On acidic medium, when you add it, acidic medium, what does it support, beta? Because it is an acidic medium, first OH will come, enol will form, right? Correct. You will have enol form for sure, maybe small amount, correct? Now, as you start heating, what kind of a reaction is this, exothermic or endothermic? It is endothermic, no? So high temperature is favored or low temperature is favored? Popov's rule says when unsymmetrical ketones undergo cleavage, carbonyl group goes with smaller alkyl group. This is called Popov's rule. What does this mean? Suppose if you have a double bond O here, correct? So this double bond O will go a smaller carbon group, not with this larger carbon group. That is Popov's rule. What it actually meant, see, on heating, we know that it is being exothermic reaction, endothermic reaction, forward direction is favored and it will give enol content. Which enol is more stable? This side enol is more stable, not here. So this side enol is more stable. So which translates to the same thing that when you react it with KMN4 and rigorous heating, this bond will break. Okay, so this bond will break. On breaking that bond, what do we get? So we will get this as 2 moles of CH3 COOH. That's it. Here. So Popov's rule is nothing but you are to make a stable enol form. So when you make a stable enol form, that particular direction, the group will go. Yes, beta, but there are very minor products. Usually they are not asked, like this type of questions are not asked whether there will be products like that. Next oxidation. This is the first oxidation we have done, right? Yeah, first one. See the second oxidation. Second one is actually not in this chapter, but it would be useful for us here. That is periodic or periodic acid. If you take periodic acid oxidation, which is typically HiO4 oxidation. So we can directly use HiO4 or we can use this as NaIO4 in H2O, okay, or KiO4 in H2O, and so on. How does the reaction proceeds? For periodic oxidation, note vicinal all groups are mandatory. Vicinal all groups are mandatory. So we must have a vicinal all groups, which means if you have glycol, we have OH and OH. This is vicinal all groups. So in glycol, what would happen? When we treat that with HiO4, the bond will break here. The HiO4, this bond will break. HiO4, normally we usually warm this reaction. What we have to do in the presence of this HiO4 and water, you break the bond. Just learn the strategy how to do the work here. Give one OH to the above carbon and give one OH to the below carbon. So typically what do we have here now? See, we have COH plus COH. There are one hydrogen here. One hydrogen was already there with it. And now one OH has joined here. So this OH has joined here. Same way here also one OH has joined here. And one hydrogen is here. And one hydrogen is present on that. Yeah. So this way, break the carbon-carbon bond and give two OH groups. And I told you two OH groups on the same carbon won't be stable. So both of these groups will release H2O to form 2 moles of HC double bond H. Further oxidation doesn't take place. So which means it will stop only at aldehydes or ketones. Clear? So just apply this technique. Mechanism you learn in alcohols chapter. This is required as one of the reactions here. That's why I'm taking it here. Second, suppose if you have glycerol, for instance, in glycerol we have OH, OH and OH. All of them are vicinal to each other. We'll do the same logic here also. We will break the bond here, break the bond here. We will give one OH to one OH above, one OH below. Below also will give one OH below and one OH above, which means the middle carbon will get two OH groups now, one from the above, one from the below. So typically on breaking, now we'll have HiO4. So what do we get the product? The top carbon will become HCHO. Okay, or let me write the complete structure here. H, OH, H and one HO which got added here, plus let's see the second carbon now. The second carbon has the second carbon has this carbon with H and H with two OH groups on it. So OH and OH groups on it. Right? Sorry, one OH was already present. One OH is already there. And the last carbon, the third carbon here, will be same as this above carbon. So which is OH, C, and this C has H, H and OH. So these two will typically become HCHO of 2 moles. And here, this after removing water, it will become acid, HCOOH. So you'll have 2 moles of formaldehyde and 1 mole of formic acid. This is the final product. See the application part now. See application part, why we are studying here, because it is in this chapter, alkenes. Suppose if you have an cyclooctane like this, and I treat this with NaIO4 in the presence of KMnO4 H2O, and this is at normal temperature. Right? So at normal temperature, KMnO4 water, first it would give an enol syn hydroxylation. So think as if it is undergoing syn hydroxylation first. So if it undergoes syn hydroxylation, we'll have 2 OH groups here. So OH and OH will form here. Just like how Bayer's reagent happened. So it is like a Bayer's reagent only. So in the presence of Bayer's reagent, first we got a syn hydroxylation. Then IO4 minus sees that there are vicinal alls. So vicinal alls, it won't let it stay. So what will it do? It will break it. And both sides, it will attach one OH. On both sides, you will get one OH above and one OH below to the carbons. So what is the product we will get now? So typically the product which you will get is this CHO here and this CHO here. Sorry. This CHO, KMnO4 is present. So in the presence of KMnO4, if aldehyde is formed, it will further undergo oxidation. in the presence of KMnO4, it will undergo further oxidation, and finally the product will be acids. But this time, instead of taking KMnO4 and H2O, what I'm taking osmium tetraoxide and H2O. Now what would happen? Osmium tetraoxide is the one which also creates diols, that too in hydroxylation. And again, NiO4 typically breaks the bond and it will stop here. And osmium tetraoxide does not make further oxidation of aldehydes. So it will stop at aldehydes only. Got it? So these are two name reactions which are typically asked. One is Lamiax, MIUEX, Lamiax-Rudolph oxidation, and this is Lamiax-Johnson oxidation. Lehmann-Rudolph and Lehmann-Johnson oxidation. Now, next topic is a very, very important topic. Instead of normal KMnO4,
if you take Bayer's reagent, sir,
it will work in two steps. It is a one-step reaction here. So basically, you're taking a salt of these two together. Okay, otherwise it will be a two-step reaction. So first you make an all, right? Then again you will extract that out, and then we treat that with NaIO4. So result would be same. What is ozonolysis? It is the oxidation done by O3. O3 is also a powerful oxidizing agent. Got it? Now, whether we have to go for a controlled oxidation or whether we have to go for a complete oxidation, that depends upon what reagents we are taking. So suppose if the oxidation is done this way, typically with O3 plus zinc and H2O, or O3, zinc and H2O, or I can take MES, Me2S, dimethyl sulfide, or I can take molybdenum. This would control the oxidation, and these are called reductive ozonolysis. Reductive does not mean reduction, okay, which means it is a controlled oxidation. So this is called reductive ozonolysis. But in case if you take O3 plus direct water H2O or H2O2, this will give complete oxidation. So that's why it is called oxidative ozonolysis. Oxidative ozonolysis. Let me explain you the reductive ozonolysis part, and then we'll go to the oxidative ozonolysis. Basically, oxidative ozonolysis is just an extension of reductive ozonolysis. After reductive, if we don't stop and we do further oxidation, that is called oxidative ozonolysis. So that's why it's better to learn reductive ozonolysis first. So write down reductive ozonolysis. See what's happening in reductive ozonolysis. If you take any alkene like RCH double bond CH2 in the presence of O3 in some solvent, typically solvents that are taken is chloroform, CCl4, so on. Right, and then second, if you add zinc and water, correct, or we can typically take any zinc form. We can take acetic acid also, or we can take Me2S. Me2S means dimethyl sulfide, DMS. Any of these reagents, if you take, it will give a controlled oxidation. So on oxidation, what do we get here? This will undergo oxidation to give RCH double bond O plus HC double bond OH. So it will end up at aldehydes. Let me take one reaction now where we have two different R groups, okay? That is important for us in the mechanism. So I'll take an example with two different R groups. Let's say RCH double bond CH and R dash. Okay, students, I'm taking it as R dash. So this, I'm making an ozonolysis. So typically, the first step of the ozonolysis is to form an intermediate like this, which is RCH with CH, R and O, and this way. Sorry, one oxygen I forgot. Oxygen and this way. This form is called molozonoid. Okay, or mole ozonoid. So it is called molozonoid. So that's why mechanism from here, if we check out RCH double bond CH R dash. How is this molozonoid forming? See, if you recall ozone structure, it is O double bond O, O minus and plus. So this is the typical Lewis structure of O3. Let me take that same Lewis structure here, O minus with O double bond O plus. So this minus would attack on this carbon, this pi will attack on this oxygen, this pi will shift here. So what do we get? We will get this as R, CH, single bond, CH, R dash, and we'll get O, 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 and this connection. So typically, this is the formation which you see. So this is molozonide, right? Once you get the molozonide here, you can see there are two peroxy linkages now. Two peroxy linkages cannot stay for a longer time. So this intermediate which is formed is not a stable form. So it will immediately break into different forms here. So how does it break? Let's see. In molozonide, this bond, typically, this bond is breaking here to make a double bond. And this bond is trying to get on oxygen as O minus. Correct. So what do we have here? So we will get the product as some R, C, CH, double bond O here, plus we will have this as R dash, CH, O and O dash. This is O and O dash here. So basically here this carbon got positive charge, right? So this oxygen will support as a lone pair. So there will be a double bond formation here with plus and O minus. So that will also I'll show as an arrow. So the lone pair present on this oxygen is supporting this carbon as a double bond. Everyone check this, how the bond breaking is done. Now this is called a zwitterion. Zwitterion means an ion which has both positive and negative charge within the molecule. So a zwitterion formation is observed. Once you have a zwitterion, now typically see how the reaction takes place. The lone pair present on this oxygen, will try to attack this carbon, and the lone pair present on this oxygen will try to attack on this carbon, because this has delta positive and here this has delta positive charge. So this oxygen will attack here, this oxygen will attack here. As it attacks, we will get a product like we'll have R, C, I'll write it better. We'll have R, H, and we'll have this oxygen connected with this carbon with R dash and H with oxygen, oxygen, and this carbon. Because as soon as that connection happens, this oxygen will take away its electrons. So can you see a hut like a shape we got? So this is a hut like shape. Right. So this shape which is forming, this is called the ozone. Again, this ozonoid doesn't stay for long because it would still have a peroxy linkage. So this bond will try to break. So how does it try to break now? From here, the bond will try to break on this carbon to get a double bond. As soon as that gets double bond here, so this carbon will try to break bond with that oxygen and it will get O. And this oxygen is trying to take away electrons from carbon. So typically, if you see this oxygen, the one which I wrote in the top, will be left over as a nascent oxygen. And these two products would be forming as R, C, double bond O, H, plus R dash, C, double bond O, H, plus a nascent oxygen. Nascent oxygen is a strong oxidizing agent. If you do not let it stop, it will again insert between carbon and hydrogen bonds, and that is oxidative ozonolysis. But since you are taking something like zinc, the role of zinc is to immediately eat away that nascent oxygens and form typically ZNO forms, ZNO types. Same way, DMS, dimethyl ether, dimethyl sulfide, will also eat away oxygen to form DMS, so dimethyl sulfoxide. That's how the reductive ozonolysis will stop the production of this nascent oxygens, and result will end up only at aldehyde forms. So these are the final products. Right. Everyone make a note of it. Acha, the motivation behind that breaking is C double bond O. The C double bond O bond is almost 436 kilojoules per mole. While C single bond C is 170. Okay. So there is a huge strong bond that can be established if carbon-carbon bond is breaking. And that initiation comes with the fact that peroxy linkages are unstable. Correct? So warming that would immediately break that carbon-carbon bond to give a typically more thermodynamically stable product. Now, one very important thing that you guys need to note here is this breaking which I have done, I could have done the other side also, no? I only made on this side, correct? If at all I make this to the other side, I might get different products. Okay, students? You can see if at all I break it this side the zwitterion will form, aldehyde will form on this side, then the attack will take place. So I'll get multiple products here, right? Everybody understood that point, what I'm saying? So let us see how many different products we can get now. All of you understood the mechanism, right? So this is a typical JEE advanced question where you would be asked how many ozonoids are formed. Okay, so take it as a question now. Find the number of ozonoids forming from R CH double bond CH R dash. So first, let me break the molozonoid into two forms. I'm directly writing the molozonoids, guys. R CH CH R dash. We had oxygen, oxygen, and another oxygen. This way it was linked. And as it broke, we could see what is the breaking that took place. First, I'm breaking on this side, this oxygen here, and this lone pair present on oxygen is making a double bond. On doing that, what is the product we are getting? We'll get R C double bond O H plus R dash C H double bond O minus and plus. Let me call this as A, let me call this as B. Right? Same way, if at all I take the same molozonoid here, just changing the arrows now, because that product is also equally probable. So lone pair is on here, correct? So the bond breaking typically is happening on this side. This bond is breaking on oxygen. This lone pair is supporting to oxygen. Clear? So now what is the product I can get? I will get this as R C H double bond O minus with plus. This is the zwitterion which is formed, plus R dash C double bond O H. See, these two are also different compounds. Now the number of ozonoids formed depends upon the combination of these four. These two can get combined, these two can get combined, correct? These two can combine, and these two can get combined. So typically you can expect four different combinations, right, students? So what are the combinations? Let me write all the combinations first. I'll get A plus B as one combination, correct? And I can get C plus D as the other combination. If at all I take A plus B combination, see how many products I'll get. A plus B. If at all I take these two combinations to form an ozonoid, what is the ozonoid which forms? R CHO with CH R dash with oxygen, oxygen, and oxygen. This is the ozonoid which is formed. Correct. Let me combine C and D. If at all I combine C and D, this O will be present typically here. So we'll get this as RCHO with CH R dash with O and O, which means A plus B combining and C plus D combining will give you same products only. Yes or no? You guys can see that it can give only same products. Clear? But these two have chiral centers, which means it will give the same ozonoid, but it will have two chiral centers. Clear? So A plus B combination or C plus D combination, structurally they will give you same, but stereo wise total how many products they are possible? We'll get four possible products. So we'll get four possible products. We'll get four possible products. Correct? Everybody understood that? Next. If you see next combination, the next combination is about A plus C combination. Suppose if at all I combine A plus C, what do we get? Here you can see, make this as the head of the hut and this two as the base of the hut and combine these two. So we would typically get this as RCH O with CH, R only. Here also it will be R only with O, O and O. This is the combination I would have. So let me write it neatly this way. This is the combination I'll have. Now observe this carefully here. What do we have? This would have 2 chiral centers, but only 3 products. Why? One of them will be meso, na? It would have a center. It would have a plane of symmetry. Correct. So how many possible products in here? So you'll get typically 3 possible products. So 3 possible ozonoids are formed here. Last, if you see in this case where you have B plus D, last combination is B plus D. So if you see B plus D, we have R dash, CH, same structure, except of R. Now this time we have R dash. So we have O, O and this. So typically again we will have 3 possible products. So how many total ozonoids are formed in this case, students? We'll have a total of 7 ozonoid formations. So I guess you should be able to do this typical question. If you take 1 mole of this, typically 50% of this and 50% of this will break in this manner because there is no specificity here. No? It is completely non-stereospecific. So 50% of this and 50% of this would be present in the solution at a time. So there is a high chance all combinations are possible. A plus C here. Okay. Now think as if these 3 are carbons only. Okay. Right, students? I hope all of you understood how to find out the ozonoids. Now, typically for question solving, unless it is specifically asked what are the ozonoid forms, then only that question. Otherwise, simple typical question how to solve the, ozonolysis. Just like how we have done oxidation with KMnO4, same thing. So just give me 2 minutes, I'll show 2 questions here. So first example, suppose if we have double bond here and this way, and I'm treating that with first O3, second zinc and H2O. This is how it is. So typically this is how you do it. You break the carbon-carbon bond, introduce one double bond. Same way you break the carbon-carbon bond, introduce one double bond. This way. That's all. So how does it look like now? If you write the numbering 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it is a 7 carbon chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So second carbon has a double bond O. And the last carbon has a double bond OH. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's all. This is a simple technique while solving the questions. You'll break the bond, introduce one oxygen to the above carbon, one oxygen to the below carbon. Right? Wherever it comes, you'll do the same thing. Suppose if the question is given this way, double bond and double bond, and you have to break the bond. What do? Break, break. So top 2 positions, I'll give you 2 double bonds. Bottom, I have carbon with double bond O, another carbon with double bond O. That's all. So how does it look like? This is a 3-membered ring with CHO, CH2 and CHO. Plus, what about this one? This one is CHO and CHO. CHO and CHO. So these are the 2 products. Suppose if the question is given this way, there is a double bond here, typically double bond here. And same ozonolysis is done. Same reductive ozonolysis. You break the bond here, introduce that with a double bond O. So what do we get? We'll get double bond O, double bond O. So that is a product formation. Suppose if you have double bond here and group this way. So you break that double bond O here, typically as if you'll get double bond O here. Correct. So let us imagine one methyl group is also there here. This is the way you break it. So now the bicyclo has become monocyclo. This is the cycle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can count the cycle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is just a 6-membered ring. This is a 6-membered ring with here we have double bond O and H. Here we have simply double bond O. Below we have H, above we have methyl. This is the final product. So same O2 and zinc, right? If we have benzene, benzene can also undergo ozonolysis. So if you have typically O3 first and Zn and H2O, double bond O can break. So break it here, break it here, break it here. So I'll get 3 moles of Glagzol. CHO, CHO, Glagzol. Last. If we have toluene, and that too, let's say, sorry, xylene, O-xylene. O-xylene. In O-xylene, you need to be very careful. Why? See, any of the canonical can give, right? This is one canonical. This is one canonical which I posted. And what is the other canonical? Other canonical will be this side. Correct. So let me actually put it as circle here, which means the circle represents these two canonical can exist. So both the canonicals will break. So when both the canonicals break, see what are the products you'll get. First canonical breaking. Break here, break here, break here. Right? So with numbering, I'm writing everyone. Check carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Correct. So first product which is forming, which is 1 and 2 here with double bond O and double bond O. Second product which is forming, right, which is CHO and CHO, which is third and fourth carbon. Third product which is forming is also CHO and CHO, which is fifth and sixth carbon. I guess all of you understood that. Now, suppose if you check out the next canonical break here, and break here. Again, I'm giving numbering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now second and third carbon, if you check out, we'll get double bond O, double bond O. This is second and third carbon plus fourth and fifth carbon, CHO, CHO. So this is fourth and fifth carbon plus 1 and sixth carbon. 1 and sixth carbon, if you see, again it will have double bond O, double bond O. So typically this is 1 and 6. So see the type of product, how many types of product has formed. This is one type. These two are Glagzol only. This is also Glagzol only. So second type. These two are same again. So how many product have formed? 3 types of products have formed. So when you write the final answer, all 3 are valid products. So we will have this product also, alpha diketones, plus we will have alpha keto. We'll have this one, alpha ketoaldehyde plus Glagzol, CHO and CHO. So these 3 are the final products which you have. So O-xylene will actually give you 3 products.